Okay.
The Washington Commanders fetched a price of $6.05 billion on the open market. Daniel Snyder will no longer be the owner once this sale is official. I think there's two big headlines here. The NFL gets rid of a wart. They've been they didn't know what to do with Daniel Snyder. The organization has been a mess since he bought it. Oftentimes the story included his name. Mm-hmm. And I always say that when you Google teams and owners, the team that has the fewest hits, when you check both of those boxes, is usually a winning team.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, Cowboys, Jerry Jones. They're probably going to come up more than any other team.
Yeah.
I want my NFL owner to do one thing: write checks. Pick good people and write checks. And Dan Snyder never did that. Dan Snyder, when he first came on, it's been a while. People forgot. Mm-hmm. Any and all free agents that were on the market, Snyder bought them.
I remember Albert Hainsworth was
Albert Hainsworth. He made him the highest paid defensive tackle in the game ever. Like, if it was a name player and he was hitting the market, Dan was in on the conversation. He proved that you can't win that way. You can't. He mucked up the organization in just about every way possible. They were investigated by the league. There are many that believe that the league covered up most of the dirt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think the NFL is just relieved that this is over, and that's why they were pushing for this so hard, because now it doesn't matter so much what was going on in the organization, because ding dong, the witch is dead.
And I will give them, we were during the Deshaun Watson situation and it was going down. You know, I was critical, and a lot of people were critical of the fact that Dan Snyder was out here running amok. I'll give the NFL some sort of credit here by saying, hey, I know how it could be to sit around that round table full of made men and tell you, one of your own, hey, we can't do this no more.
Right.
That's a difficult thing. Like, you know, especially when you're talking about billionaires. People don't just give their business up. It's giving your people's businesses is their identity. When you say Washington Redskins or Commanders, you think Daniel Snyder, right? Like
you do now.
You do now.
You used to think Gibbs,
and
winning,
Art Monk, and guys that was
John Riggins.
Yeah, just the Hogs and the band. Like
Gary Clark. Remember the fun bunch.
Dexter Manley. So all these guys, like, that's the thing about it. Like, one person.
Doug Williams.
Doug Williams.
Joe Theismann.
One person can mess up your whole doggone thought process of a story organization.
Especially when he's the owner.
Yes. And it's the Reds at the time, and we said at the Redskins, it's the Commanders, but we speak it in terms of the Redskins back then. The Redskins were known as one of the best organizations in the game.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. They were a cornerstone franchise. Think about this, guys. A lot of teams have won multiple Super Bowls, but when you look at like the Steelers, they won 4 with Bradshaw. The Patriots won 6 with Brady. The Niners won 3 with Montana and I think 2 with Steve Young. Mm-hmm. The Redskins were doing it with different cats.
Mark Rippon.
They were doing it with Rippon, Doug Williams.
Yep.
Their most recent.
He didn't win the Super Bowl.
Theismann didn't win a Super Bowl, but who was their most recent? Was it Rippon?
Like, Mark Rippon, they played the Bills in, I believe it was 91 or.
But Joe Gibbs, like they were just, it was Jack Kent Cooke was the owner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was your traditional NFL owner. He hired great people and got the hell out of the way.
When I always remember when the Browns used to, because they never really played them that much, it seemed like, I used to always have this feeling when they say, hey, we're going to RFK Stadium. And I'm like, I ain't never seen the Browns play good in RFK, ever.
Didn't there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't that long ago where they only had maybe one win ever at Washington.
Yeah,
because they don't play there very often, but they haven't had much success. Because my memory is yours.
Yeah, like
we go there, that's an L.
That's an L. We're not winning over there.
But it's funny how you change the owner, and everything trickles down from him. And it's been the same thing here in Cleveland.
Yep.
They haven't had, funny. Did anyone ever think that a Browns owner could make Art Modell look good?
Or Al Lerner.
I mean,
Randy
I'm not
Lerner.
even going to say Lerner looked good because
He just wouldn't even. They was like, don't show the box. Don't show the press box.
I know.
Remember that?
I remember that.
Do not show us.
When Art Modell left, if you would have asked the average Browns fan, will you ever be to a point where you miss the days of Art Modell?
Yeah.
But, I'm not saying that, people have forgiven him and they love him, but you can say what you want about Art Modell. His teams won.
Yeah, they did.
His teams won.
Yeah.
Now, he committed the ultimate sin and took the team to Baltimore. But compared to what we have now and what we've had since, they've made Art Modell look like a pretty damn good owner.
What Art was fighting against was the economic change of the game. He was not going to have enough money to play the game the way that
Well,
it is played now.
he you know what he did? He did some bad deals.
right.
He gave everything away. Concessions, parking.
and so what do
the
you
way
have?
you can make money in this game back then, he had bad deals with the city.
Right.
And I know the history will record this a different way.
Right.
But he wanted the city to treat him fairly, and he thought that they were never going to because they thought he would never leave.
As a young dude growing up, not understand. I'm from Canton. I didn't really get it. So as I started to get older and I started to look into the political nature of it, I started to come away feeling different. I'm like, did he get railroaded? Because he basically was like, hey, I'm gonna just be a good soldier and wait my turn.
Yeah, we'll see.
Right.
I
The
saw
Cavs got a new
Cavs,
arena.
Okay.
The Indians got the new stadium.
He did a lot
and
for the
he's
city.
just sitting there going, hey, where's mine? Because guess what we know on this show, but based how many people are watching when we talk Browns, Guardians, or Cavs.
You know what the
This
draw
is a Browns town.
You know what the draw
and
is.
he just wanted his third of the pie. And he was like, wait a minute, I see a pie in front of me. It's got one cut in it, and half of it says Cavs, and half of it says Indians. Where do I get to eat?
Part of it, he was so entrenched in this community. Cleveland hadn't seen one of the real cutthroat owners that come through here and be like, I ain't doing nothing. You doing everything, right? That's because that's how they play it now. You doing everything, right?
They thought he would never leave.
Yeah. So when you have that thought, Jay, you're like, he couldn't even when he tried to probably muscle a deal out, they were like, you ain't doing
Yeah,
nothing.
Art's
Financially,
cute.
You ain't doing
Go
nothing.
over there in your corner and keep winning.
So is this true financially? I heard, as I was looking different stuff on the internet, I heard that Art Modell had to take out a loan to pay Andre Rison.
That's a
did.
fact.
That's
That's
a
a
fact.
fact.
That's a fact.
Art Modell was not a wealthy man
No, he was not.
outside of his ownership of a team. It's very similar to what the Guardian situation is now. The Guardians are now in a situation where they're not even getting the $55 million owed to them by their television partner.
We got to talk about
That is a mind blow what's
has
going
to
on
be-
with them.
I'm wondering.
And they're still carrying the gains.
Yes, and just
How
here's
is
what
that
they-
even happening?
Brad,
It's crazy.
because, you know why? Because of our bankruptcy laws. But here's what that's akin to. You go to a restaurant every night, and it's a 5-star, and you eat your meal, and you pay your $500 bill when you're done, every night.
Is that what happened at the 5-star?
And then, well, I'm talking, you got 4 people, bottle of
and
wine,
the bottles
bottle
of
of
wine to get
wine.
you. The bottle get you.
It's a 5-note, okay?
Okay.
You do that every night for 20 years.
All right.
And then you file bankruptcy. I'm poor now. But you keep going to the 5-star restaurant. You keep eating the 5-star meal.
Top shelf.
And when it's done, you politely excuse yourself, put your napkin on the table, and walk out the door.
then you dip.
And then you look back at the maitre d' and you go, bankruptcy. I'll see you tomorrow. That's what's going on right now with the Guardians and Valley Sports.
What a great analogy.
That's it.
What a great analogy.
They're eating and they're not paying.
Yeah, you eat, then you dip.
You're dipping, you're dining and dashing.
Hallelujah, holla
It's
back.
television sports, dine and dash.
All you hear is
Thanks
Gwen
for the
Stefani.
meal.
They put that Gwen, I ain't no holla back, girl. I ain't no.
The 80s,
See you tomorrow.
The 80s Ohio State late night runs when people would go to the late night.
That's it.
I'm out.
So, and you know what?
I got a whole story. It involves the Pitt Panthers, West Virginia, and the car picking me up after a dollar bill. Don't.
What is that called? The backyard brawl?
I'm out of here.
No, so seriously, I mean, that's what it is. And by the way, they're telling the chef, too, on their way out, remember, tomorrow, medium rare plus.
Yeah.
and I want a twinge of olive oil in my steamed vegetables.
And by the way, do you guys have the truffles in yet?
I'll
I
eat
heard they're
truffles.
seasonal.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's nuts what's going on with the Guardians, but the reason we got to that point is because the Dolans don't have the kind of money where they can say, I got that $55 million, I got it covered.
So,
Don't worry, play
this
ball.
$55 million, I'm sure, was going to be consumed in use of somewhere
Hell
players.
yeah.
They running the team.
Who's filling the gap now?
The owners.
But if you don't have the money, how do you fill the gap?
Enter minority owner.
Oh, so you tapped them boys. Hey,
Well,
look.
Mr. Blitzer, you're part of the team now as well, and you have to incur some of these expenses as well.
Day to
and I
day.
imagine that whatever the split is in ownership, Paul has to pay 90% of that TV bill, and Blitzer has to pay 10 if that's the ownership split.
Yeah.
I can't remember now what the numbers are, but somebody's got to pick up the tab.
Jay, like this is, I'm just being frank. I mean, does he have $45 million in the bank?
I
Because-
don't know that he has it, but I'm sure because his assets are the team, whatever value that
So
has.
you're gonna put a
So
you
he's
can get a loan
probably
against that?
I wouldn't doubt it if there will be loans taken. Now I'm speaking completely out of turn. I don't know that or not.
What do you think the Guardians are worth?
Over $1 billion for sure.
I'll
And-
look that up, but that's a great question.
Yeah,
Brad.
I would say
Real quick,
in the $2 billion range.
Okay,
The
and
Guardians?
he bought it for
Yeah.
what?
900
Oh,
something.
in the hundreds of millions,
It's
not $1
900
billion.
something.
So
I'll look
my,
that real quick. It is 12:20, which means it's time real quick to remind everybody that the Lunch Hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is sponsored by Colleague Racing. Colleague Racing, the official
now you gotta
NASCAR
get it.
sponsor
He
of
gotta
Northeast Ohio. While we're talking about evaluations, real quick, what do you guys think the Browns would be priced at right now?
$5 billion.
$5 billion.
$5 billion.
$4 million.
And matter
You're
of
saying
fact,
$4 billion? That's what the
Four.
Broncos went for.
but I would argue he could get more because like the Washington Commanders, it don't matter. We gonna always show up. It don't matter. We gonna buy merch. We got Browns backers. And if I'm them, I'm saying, look, you name me
No, listen.
one more loyal fan base. They gonna
Hey.
fill up whatever you got.
G, you get $5 billion, $5.5 billion if you got a new stadium. This stadium not giving you no.
No, that's part of it. That's a very fair and valid point.
And
Good
at
point.
some point,
But
Mikey, I want
FedEx-
to get the Browns on here because I this community got to have a conversation here.
No, but listen,
You know
Washington's
where I'm going.
Washington's in the same spot. FedEx was built around the same time,
Yep.
and they want out. They don't want that stadium anymore. They want a new stadium just like Haslam does. So here's one of the things, when they set these values, it's all just, it's a guessing game.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I can imagine that's going on where they value these things, because you always see, who is the company that sets the valuations for the pro sports franchises that we always
Forbes.
use? Forbes.
And real quick, the Guardians, $1.3 billion.
Okay.
Evaluation.
Where were they bought for?
I'd say
They were bought
$400
for
million.
$323 million.
Okay, there you go.
Three?
There you go.
That's
That's $1 billion. So Paul goes to the bank and says, "Listen, I'm in a bit of a spot. I got this. This diner that keeps coming and eating my food, but he's not paying for it, so I got to pick up his tab. I need a $55 million payroll
It's an
loan."
equity loan. That's what.
Yeah, it's a payroll loan.
It's an equity
loan.
The equity in the.
Now, I don't know that he's doing that. I don't.
okay.
Maybe he's flush enough that he can just write that check. I don't
don't
know.
know.
I would be surprised if he is.
By trade, he's
I'm not
a
going to
lawyer,
guess
right?
a man's worth. Yeah, now, typically, you're not making that kind of money practicing law.
No.
He put himself in a position to buy the team and own the team.
Right.
But how much of that is fluid for him and
Right.
liquid, I don't know.
Right.
What I do know is, in an interview on opening day with Jimmy Donovan, Jimmy asked him, "Are you concerned? Does there come a point here where this becomes an issue?" And he was coy, as he always is. Didn't glean, he didn't give us much information. But here's my fear: at the trade deadline, if they're a player away, and that means taking on a significant number of dollars in
Can't do it.
payroll,
They don't do that.
I wouldn't think they're going to do that.
Can't do it.
And you know what? I wouldn't.
Because they're already one of the lowest at $91 million.
And I would not.
That makes sense.
No.
I wouldn't knock them, Jay.
I
For
wouldn't
one
either.
time, I wouldn't
I
begrudge
mean,
it.
they're in a really
Hey,
hard spot
So
right now.
here's the deal and I've had I was on a call with Paul Dolan maybe about 7 months ago. It wasn't bad. I mean, very nice guy. Right?
Super nice
very
guy.
nice guy. Right.
Very
and
nice.
was
Professional,
open and clear,
courteous.
very much so. So I'm not going to begrudge anybody.
Yeah.
But here, at some point here, I'm looking at this TV contract money that's missing. That gap, I run a city. That thing has to be filled with something, right?
Dude, in the ledger column, that ain't
peanuts.
A miscellaneous expense.
That's not peanuts.
$55 million.
I would literally have to think about getting out of it.
So at that point,
I'd have to think. I had to cash my chips.
Well, he's got an escape clause if he wants it. Because Blitzer has the ability to buy the whole team.
And it's not even getting out. It's here. You're cashing out.
Yeah, I'm cashing out.
Because you're going to cash out to a win. Because the game now is played on all sports levels, not just baseball. You need a higher profile owner with more deep pockets because this is where it's trending. The salaries are trending. This is trending. The stadiums are trending.
I don't know what I'm doing with streaming. I don't know what the revenue.
No, our baseball landscape is different than all the other ones because they don't revenue share like the NFL does.
Art Modell could not be an owner in the NFL today. It's just not.
It's a lot. It's a lot of the old.
Here, you cannot.
What's the Pelicans owner? The Pelicans owner,
like Guns. The Guns and the Cavaliers could not own today.
It's a different stratosphere that these guys are living in. And much of that's why I was so surprised that the Haslams bought into the Milwaukee Bucks.
They must have got some of it.
At Forbes, when they set the value, you know how when an inspector comes to your house and goes, oh, we got a gutter hanging up there, going to deduct something for that. I hear a little noise in the heater. That's a deduction. With the Browns, they're going to look at the win-loss records. They're going to go, not a whole lot to talk about in the winning column, but I'm seeing a note here, fan base through parade when team went 0-16. Oh, I'm buying that.
That's crazy.
We're always going to be there.
Yeah.
We're always going to be there. We're making the owners a lot of money with that.
So I do want to say this. I think this our group will be doing this community a disservice because I want to have a discussion about this stadium here, right? Because how you get into the next, it's not just a stadium. We want to have a winning team, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't care. I don't care if we play in the parking lot if we win.
This is portal business. You always have to stay winning. So you're always in the recruitment game here, right? Your facilities. You been out to the facilities in Berea?
Oh.
They ain't nothing special.
No.
Well, they are upgrading the facilities.
So
there.
I'm saying you have that upgrade and you go to some of these other places. Go out to what the Cavs out in Independence.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's the difference.
No, I feel it. Yep.
So when I'm recruiting players to come here, right? Everything's first class. You saw those surveys. They were like, oh, those surveys didn't come out great here.
I think that they had the city.
So if you're not paying, if you're not having a first class facility,
you better have some kind of.
You better have something going on.
The city owes it to itself that if you want to talk about, because I know they do got some money, because that gambling money is real right now. Now you got sin taxes and all this other stuff. My thing is, if you gonna do it and you want the taxpayers' money in a recession, I feel you gotta fiscally be responsible and say we need this venue to attract more than the Cleveland Browns year round.
I'm not going to who pays for anything yet. The discussion point is, do you want this or should we be looking at something else? Because if we are at some point going to something else, if you don't do it now, 15 years from now, it's going to cost you X.
So that's why I was surprised that they're going to
the renovations.
The Haslams all of a sudden did it on about face.
Well, I think that,
and now they're like, you know what? We'll just renovate this one.
They don't want the smoke.
They don't want this. They don't want the bill.
No, forget the bill. They don't want the smoke of just saying somebody talking about it. I said it don't cost you anything to talk about it. I said they have never polled this community to be like, what is it that you prefer? Look, I'm 60 years old. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to sit out there in the cold. I'm not going to do that. So after September, you kiss me goodbye. Right? I'm not going down there. You get no parking money,
unfortunately,
no hotel money.
And I know this because I was one of them. I'll sit through, and there were 40,000 fans that did the same thing. 0-degree weather to watch them play the Saints on Christmas Eve. I did it. I was there.
0-degree weather.
Y'all nuts.
Look, 0-degree weather.
Coldest game I've ever been. It's the coldest I've ever been in my life.
You and Jason, y'all are nuts.
Coldest I've ever been.
Hey, G, 0-degree weather at my age get you sick.
I prefer 72 in climate control. But
Brad, you gonna have walking pneumonia.
What's wrong? What happened to Brad? He shriveled up somewhere.
Brad was such a good dude.
Hey, listen.
The Browns literally killed him. He always said they would.
I am not coming to the Cleveland Clinic seeing you out there with your legs hanging off the edge of the bed. They ain't got the
Coughing. And Brad said this right here. And they lost.
Hey, talk to my daughters. Get them together.
We ain't doing that. We're not doing that.
Man. Anyhow, I would guess that the Browns would be worth $5 billion.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's not much to speak of lately, but same with the Redskins.
Yeah.
The Redskins sell tickets, so do the Browns.
Loyal fan
and
bases.
we will support this
Loyal
team
fan bases.
through 0-16. We threw a parade.
That's crazy.
Okay, Mike.
According to Forbes, they are evaluated at $3.85 billion for the
That's
record.
it.